Wakey, wakey. Hello. It is, of course, the 13th of January 2020, and you're bang on time for AM Live. Happy felicitations for the new year. Of course, we've not seen each other this year, and I'm glad that you've joined us today. We have a lot to discuss today, and we're hacking back, looking from the beginning of the year, how the political scenario has been panning out. A lot has been happening on that particular scene. And we can see the decibels of the politics are getting louder and louder. My panelists here still are not yet here. Of course, also the rains are affecting traffic this morning. Some of them also have not had blanket victory today. Of course, the lethargy that is still there, with the new year setting in. But we have a lot to discuss today, and that will be also on the table. This particular ticklish issue about the NHIF, also the BBI, is turning out to be something else that is driving a wedge also in the political scene as well. So that will be also the center of our discussion today. But more importantly, this which is affecting the Mwananchi reports that the self-employed Kenyans will now be required to pay 6,000 shillings before they can start using the National Hospital Insurance Fund NHIF card are worrying. Also troubling is the revelation that the new measures will also make it nearly impossible for newly expectant mothers to use those services. For example, those intending to use the NHIF card for maternity may have to register before the pregnancy sets in or miss out on the benefits. The waiting period for the new members' cards to mature has now been extended to 3 months, we know that, which will ultimately delay the benefits for voluntary contributors to access medical services. Now, the old rules required new members to wait for 2 months before they could start using the card. It is also shocking that the new fees were introduced without any thought about their ramifications on the intended users. Kenyans deserve to be told why the fees were increased to 6,000 shillings from 1,500 shillings. For new members, and we know that the waiting period for the new members' cards to mature has now been extended to 3 months, which will ultimately delay, as I've mentioned, the benefits for voluntary contributors to access medical services. That there were no public consultation also, I say, that is a clear indication that this is being crammed down the throats of Kenyans without any public participation. That will be the basis of a discussion, and also, as I mentioned earlier, the BBI will be the center also of discussions as well. I'm expecting Professor Nyang' Nyong'o to join us this morning. Also, Alice Wahome, she'll be joining us. This is a member of Parliament for Kwandara. We have Gladys Bos-Chole, Okongo Mogini as well, and Haman Manyora. And that's how we're going to thrash out this matter this morning. So you know the drill. You can hit us on Twitter. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook. And 20686, our SMS portal. But before we head there, let's just take a quick snapshot of what is headlining the dailies today. Fresh off the press today on the front page of the Daily Nation is gloves off as Uhuru and Ruto rift widens. This is a splash today. DP was allegedly locked out of his official residence in Mombasa on orders from above. DP dismisses BBI forums which are dear to his boss as a waste of public funds. He also warns officials who defy court orders that they will carry their own cross in future. This story continues on page 5 of the Daily Nation today. At stake, resign now, MPs tell DP. Jubilee MPs in the Kieleweke camp, which is allied to the president, have dared DP Ruto to resign instead of undermining the president from within. It is hypocritical for the deputy president to be contradicting his boss in public. This is insubordination, and he should resign, nominated Member of Parliament Maina Commander said yesterday in Murang'a County. Also, what are all these campaigns for? Who do they want to persuade? Is it a way of misusing government resources? This is what the Deputy President is asking as well. And we shall be also looking at this much later in the course of the program this morning. Also, you have your DN2 pull-up magazine for you. Pneumonia scourge, I should say. This is another story that you want to follow inside the DN2 today. Pneumonia scourge there. And suspended new NHIF rules court demands as well. You have all this tucked away on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. And Queen calls crisis talks over Harry and Meghan. Queen Elizabeth II will host a showdown meeting with Prince Harry in an attempt to resolve a crisis triggered by their announcement, I should say, that he and his wife are stepping back from the royal front line. Also, aerial spraying of locusts starts. This is tucked away on page 10 of the Daily Nation today. The swarms have invaded Wajir, Marsabit, Isiolo, and Meru counties. This is how the Daily Nation looks today. Make sure you grab a copy this morning. Let's look what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. And this is what is headlined on the front page of the Standard today. It's now Ruto versus Kenyatta and Raila. It's all about 2022. The gloves are off. Deputy President tears into handshake and BBI for the first time, dismissing the pact between the president and ODM leader as Raila's special vehicle to State House. This story continues on page 6 of the Standard this morning. Also, this is a bite from him, Deputy President William Ruto, saying, quote unquote, we witnessed at the weekend in Kisii. What we witnessed at the weekend in Kisii was not a campaign for BBI, but a revival of ODM's 2022 presidential strategy. The handshake at the BBI debate has brought confusion in the Jubilee government and killed the opposition. This is what he said. And you can follow the story on page 6 of the Standard today. Also, how Juakali trader walked away with, get this, 205 million shillings from Central Bank. This was a heist here. Alex Ribeiro Ngugi used a briefcase horticulture company to siphon cash from CBK through fraudulent sale of treasury bonds. He was only busted after an investor whose account he had emptied alerted authorities. And you have this story continuing on page 10 of the Standard this morning. We move on and we see what is also on the front page of the Star this morning, and also the Business Daily as well. I'll try and retrieve the Star for you momentarily. And this is what is on the front page of the Star. Is Uhuru Ruto marriage over? It's a probing question there. DP says BBI a monster that has ruined Jubilee plans. DP says BBI a monster that has ruined Jubilee plans. Disobedience of court orders is the start of tyranny. You have this story on page 4 and 5 of the Star today. Is Uhuru Ruto marriage over? And we can see also a related picture here, hand in hand, Deputy President William Ruto and Bishop Robert Langat during the opening of African Gospel Church Olerai Bethel Sanctuary in Narok County yesterday. Also on the front page of the Star today, row over cancelled Postbank MD job is another story you can follow inside the Star this morning. A row has erupted at the Kenya Post Office Savings Banks following the cancelled recruitment of a new managing director. Documents in the possession of the Star show that the board of directors and management are split on the recruitment process. You can follow the rest of the details on page 2 of the Star this morning. Also, family blames KNH for death of 16-year-old Form 3 daughter. Hospital denies negligence. Road accidents claimed. It claims 73 lives in the first week of the new year. And also, Moi hurriedly put back on life support machine moments after it was disconnected. This is on page 6 of the Star. We should continue to pray for the ailing former President Daniel Arap Moi. You can follow that story on page 6 of the Star this morning. Let's see what is on the front page of the Business Daily. Safaricom post IPO investor wealth rises to 1.3 trillion shillings peak. This is on the front page of the Business Daily today. The market valuation of Safaricom skyrocketing there. Share rally. Telco is now worth more than all the other 61 listed companies combined, controlling 50.4% of the Nairobi Security Exchange market value. The Safaricom stock hit a historic peak last Friday, closing at a high of 32.80 shillings per share on Friday, thereby swelling investor wealth eightfold since its listing on June the 9th, 2008, inclusive of dividends. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Also, we have the Safaricom market cap here. This is the Safaricom market valuation graphic representation here. This is from Reuters, just depicting how that has risen exponentially. And of course, this is good tidings for the shareholders. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Nakumat's debt paper. Mansu's insurer broker. Businessman pursuing more than 47 million shillings invested in the commercial paper issued by the collapsed retail chain. Nakumat says he will demonstrate why an insurance company and a broker should be forced to pay his money which he had insured. In a litigation likely to shine a light on the 4 billion shillings Nakumat commercial papers, Rajesh Shah says he lent 47,753, that is 47,753,386 to Nakumat that he never got back. You can follow the rest of the story on page 4 of the Business Daily today. China cuts duty on Kenya avocados there. You can follow the story on page 4. China has agreed to slash the duty levied on avocado exports from 30 to 7% in a move that should ideally help Kenyans or Kenyan farmers benefit from the lucrative Asian market. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Electricity fuel cost levy drops to 13-month low. The fuel cost levy has fallen to its lowest in 13 months due to heavy rains that have filled the country's power generation dams. Follow the story on page 5 of the Business Day. The digit, 35%, that is the percentage of accident-related deaths that occur within 20 meters of Matatu stages. That is a story you can follow on page 13 of the Business Daily. Agriculture pay budget rises 36% on union deal. Salaries and wages of tea and coffee workers have shot up by 36% in the last 4 years, increasing operating costs for agricultural farms in Kenya. That story tucked away on page 7 of the Business Daily. Treasury miles bond financing funds to cut risks. You can follow the story also on page 19 of the Business Daily. Treasury is considering setting up a fund that will ease repayments of its long-dated securities at maturity as one of the measures to mitigate risk associated with large redemptions. Follow the story on page 19 of the Business Daily this morning. Also, let's just cross over now to, did I mention today's digit? Yes, I did. That is the 35%. That is the accident-related deaths that occurred within 20 meters. That occurred within 20 meters of Matatu stages. You can follow the story on page 13 of the Business Daily this morning. In Tanzania, oh, this is corrupted. I'll try and retrieve that also much later in the course of the program. That is the citizen in Tanzania. But we can cross over to Rwanda to see what the New Times is holding for us in Rwanda. Rwanda's Kibeho Holy Land to get 10,000-seater basilica. That is the story that you can follow inside the New Times this morning. It says feasibility studies and design have been completed, and if everything goes according to plan, Rwanda's pilgrimage site of Kibeho in Nyaruguru district will have a new basilica that will have a seating capacity of 10,000 people. Speaking to the New Times on Sunday, Francois Habitegeko, the mayor of Nyaruguru, he said that they expect the new basilica to have been completed by November 2021 when the Holy Land marks 40 years. That is a story you can follow on page 8 of the New Times. Let's move on and see what is happening also in the East African this week. If you've not really grabbed your copy, this is how it looks. Belt tightening as government kicks CSAs and PSAs out of parastatal boards. Belt tightening as government kicks CSAs and PSAs out of parastatal boards. This is all about austerity measures A circular from the head of public service directs the state officers should not be appointed to serve as independent members. And you have the full report on page 5 of the East African this morning, or this week, I should say. And we have bites here from National Treasury CS Ukuri Yatani and also the Chief of Staff in the Office of the President. This is Joseph Kinyua. Ukuri Yatani says, quote unquote, had early suspended benchmarking tour by state officers and restricted the number of people accompanying CSs and PSs. And also selection of alternate directors should be on the basis of subject matter, expertise, and experience. This, you have the full reports, as I've mentioned, well fleshed out for you on page 5 of the business, not the business, but the East African this week. Also, law into trade haunting EAC in 2020, and less government takes drastic action to tackle trade barriers. Economies will suffer. The story continues on page 4. Also, we have future problems remain the same. Climate, health, countries reporting emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases. This is on Outlook page 21 and 23 of the East African this week. Let's move on and see what we have on the front page as well of, I wanted to show you what we have on the front page of the New Times. I'll show you that much later, also in the course of the program. I'll try and retrieve this from Tanzania. This is the Mwananchi, the Swahili paper in Tanzania there. Bosi NIDA anavyopitia katika tunuru la moto, changamoto za vitambulisho zampa wakati mgumu. You can follow the story also on page 4 of Mwananchi if you're waking up in Tanzania. Also, John Pombe Magufuli ashauri safari za ndege kwa watalii Zanzibar and Serengeti. You can follow the story on page 2. And there is a standalone picture here, mambo ya ukakamavu. This is vikosi vya idara maalum ya SMZ vikiwa katika mazoezi ya mwisho ya maandalizi ya sherehe za kilele cha maadhimisho ya miaka 56 ya mapinduzi ya Zanzibar. You can follow the story also inside the Mwananchi this morning. There we go. Let's just try and pick up a bit of editorial cartoons that we do have today in the Daily Nation. This is what he has done for us. Free education and cash crisis. I'll leave it for you to decipher that. And also we have other editorial cartoons as well. And I'm trying to see also what Gado has drawn for us inside the Standard today. And this is all about what is happening in Tanzania and press freedom as well. My Lord, we have enough evidence to prove that he is guilty. And you can see how that really happens underneath there. I'll leave it for you to decipher this as well. Mudslinging as well. What is happening to press freedom in Tanzania? That is another probing question there. Let's move on and we'll see also what we have inside the People Daily, what Stano has drawn for us today. And it's all about the BBI as well. What is Wanjiku's share in the BBI report? That is what a journalist is asking there. And we have someone here saying, I want power in 2022, cars, bodyguards, allowances, and a good life. And the puppet, of course, will be who? It will be you, the voter. This is what we have also inside the People Daily this morning. Those are your dailies. So make sure you grab a copy of the Daily Nation, the Business Daily. And also we have Daily Monitor Uganda, we have the Citizen in Tanzania, or whichever paper that really floats your boat this morning. Right, we want to buckle down to a discussion here with our panelists who are already here in studio to discuss a raft of issues as far as politics is concerned. Ali had mentioned that, of course, we know the BBI decibels are getting louder and louder and deafening. And this is driving a wage, of course, amongst the politicians, especially within the ruling party, Jubilee. And now also we can see that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga also is being thrown into another spotlight, that he's becoming a bit not really self-effacing, but a bit selfish when it comes to the issue of BBI, that now, as some politicians are saying, he's actually seeking his way using BBI to maybe also posture and try and get power in 2022. But to the more concerns that is affecting the Mwananchi directly, and this is all about the National Hospital Insurance Fund, which continues to face criticism over new stringent requirements that will likely lock out millions of poor Kenyans seeking subsidized medical cover. The NHIF, among other changes, has introduced a one-year advance payment system for current contributors. New self-contributors will also pay 6,000 shillings upfront and wait for 90 days before they can benefit from the health cover. The Central Organization of Trade Union, KOTU, now says it will vigorously oppose these changes that it says are punitive to majority of its members who are low-income earners.
KOTU Kenya will not be party to such punitive changes against our members, and we are ready to explore all avenues to stop NHIF from reckless attempts to deny our members the services they deserve. We are aware that, and I think members of the press are aware also, that there's been mismanagement of funds at NHIF, and we are aware that investigations are being done. So we don't want anybody at NHIF to try to create confusion so that they cover or whatever misdeeds that there are at that board.
Universal healthcare is about everybody getting treatment for free. So what NHIF is doing is limiting UHC. That is the problem about Jubilee doing contradictory things.
Right, I mentioned that we shall also put that squarely on the table of our panelists this morning. And allow me to introduce them to you. Today we have Gladys Boss-Chule, who is a woman rep Western Gishu. Also we do have with us Herman Manyora, our resident political analyst. We have Okongo Mogini, who's a senator for Nyamira. We're eagerly waiting for Professor Nyang Nyong to join us, and also Alice Wahome as well. Good morning, Gladys, Herman, and Okongo Mogini.
Morning and Happy New Year.
Good to see you guys look fresh.
Happy New Year.
Yes. I've missed you guys dearly, right? But good to see you. All right, so what's up for the new year? Maybe we can begin there before we buckle down to our discussions today. Gladys, with you?
It's an exciting year, a lot of new resolutions. And just the figure 2020 makes a new ring to it. So rededicating myself to doing the things that I want to do, serve my purpose, and serve the people of Western Gishu County. Yes.
It's a new decade.
Yes.
Fantastic. Herman Manyora.
This is a new year, a good year. I think a year that we must discover ourselves and fulfill our mission as a people. This year I want to join Kenyans in making Kenya a better place. I think Kenya should be if we don't do it now, if we don't get it right now, we'll never get it right. So I think I want to be part of that team that makes Kenya move in the right direction. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okongo Mogini, surprise, surprise. I thought you did have a blanket victory this morning.
The traffic is good.
I think
I didn't know I would make it on time, but apparently the roads are clear. Yeah, so just happy new year to Kenyans, and it's an interesting year, but hope that some of us in political leadership can do some cleanup on our constitution of 2010 and deliver a document that is broadly acceptable to all Kenyans. I think on the political scene, I'm anticipating very interesting times. For the first time, I'm seeing a DP who is sporting a goatee. That's the new
face I'm
seeing. It's a new look.
It's a goatee. Where I didn't see that.
2020.
Maybe it has really passed me.
It's somewhere. You can look at the star.
The star?
Yeah,
Today's star?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me try and retrieve it there and see if there's a goatee.
I don't know whether it is signaling a divorce that is imminent.
But where is the goatee here? Which star are we talking about? Is it today's or?
I was with the deputy president yesterday, and I didn't notice that. Yes, so it's amazing that he notices it, and they haven't met. Isn't that amazing? He's watching him keenly. I think DP should be very careful.
Even when a pimple will just pop out.
He doesn't look.
I'm telling you.
At least he's watching him closely.
Those are details that should not escape Gladys, because you should not have a keen look at the DP. Yeah, but I think this will be a very interesting year. Certainly, Debarl. I'm expecting serious tremors in the political scene. I think where we are today,
The
looking at the
tsunami
headline,
passed, or we are still expecting the
looking at
tsunami?
the headline of the Star,
The Star today?
it's asking, is the marriage over?
No, he says tremors. I'm asking about the tsunami. We're still waiting for the tsunami
For
before the tremors. You know, the tremors come after the tsunami. So I don't know what happened to the tsunami. Now we're waiting for tremors.
Yeah.
Okay, we're waiting for tremors.
Yeah.
Maybe
so-
an earthquake, but usually it's the earthquake, then the tremors.
But I thought
I don't know who is the unfaithful spouse in this marriage. Maybe that's what Gladys Sholay should tell us. You know, when you hear people saying about marriage being over, then it means one of the spouses is very unfaithful. I don't know which one is.
He's the one who was caught as unfaithful.
Yeah.
For Haman, let's hear from Haman as well. Your perception as well, as far as the politics is concerned, we were discussing, we can see the decibels are getting higher, louder as far as BBI report is concerned. Look at the headlines today also. Big clash over rallies, funding. This was Sundays.
Yeah.
We had Ruto locked out of official residence as well. I mean, a lot is really happening as far as
There's so
this is
much
concerned.
happening, Debarl. There's so much happening, really. It's going to be a very interesting year. I think there's going to be no dull moment this year. And there are many people who believe the moment of reckoning is now. And that it has reached almost tipping point. This is between Ruto and Uhuru. The signs are there. Things are not working well. We always thought maybe there was a small game Uhuru was playing with Raila, and that he'll go back to his spouse, as they say. But now, if things get this bad in a marriage,
Yes.
these lawyers will tell you they try to reconcile people and give them a chance before the courts allow for a divorce. If things get this bad, even if you reunite, many things will have happened that would make the marriage untenable. So I think their followers, DP's followers, even if Uhuru were to support him again, they will never forgive him for what the DP has gone through. So I am beginning to suspect that this thing is over. It's over, but I also pray that they will find it in their heart, the three of them, to get together in the interest of this country. So we have Raila, Uhuru, and Ruto. If this happens, and I pray that it does happen, then we will walk into 2022 and thereafter a peaceful country that can deliver on development. But this rift is dangerous. Because why I say it's dangerous, this game called the handshake and BBI, I love it. It's a good thing. We can use it as an infrastructure to re-engineer our politics, BBI. But at the same time, we must also remember this is politics. And things of this proportion sometimes get their own momentum. So that even the initiators may get to a point where they may have no power to control what is happening in the country. You know, a free fall and a free for all.
Yes.
That could get a country into problems. Unintended problems, you know. This thing is too big to be controlled by one or two guys. It will just get a life of its own, and we could find ourselves in a bad spot. So I pray that at some point, when the chips are down and the dust are settled,
Yes.
I will see Uhuru, Raila, and Ruto sitting together in the interest of this country. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, I know we shall be gravitating towards that also. But more importantly, looking at the NHIF new rates as well, which is directly affecting the Mwananchi. Are you in support of this? Because I think many leaders as well, we've had Kotu and many voices as well from the parliamentarians as well, are really, really opposing the new NHIF rates as well.
Yes.
Is there any rhyme or reason why now is being, heightened to 6,000 from 1,500? That even before you get pregnant, you have now to, have registered before. Yeah. So what happens if there's a whoops moment, maybe in your marriage?
Yes,
then it means actually, yeah.
Debarl, I think allow me to say something about this because I feel very strongly about this issue. One of the big four agenda was universal health care.
Yes.
It was to ensure that everybody, no matter your economic status in this country,
Yes.
is capable of being able to have access to medical services and medical treatment at an affordable cost.
Yes.
The saddest part about this is that when you look, and I did speak to some doctors about it, first of all, the new regulations are a statutory instrument, which means they are required to come before the Committee on Delegated Legislation for approval. and probably putting before the House.
Yes.
So first of all, all is not lost to the public. It has to still come to Parliament, and it will come to the committee that I chair. And I'm happy about that because we'll have an opportunity to interrogate it. When I asked, I talked to some doctors and I asked them, what is the impact of this? And they put it very simply. They said that, for example, if you have defaulted, many people have, then you are required to pay, if you defaulted for 3 months, then you have to pay for the 3 months, which comes maybe 500 shillings times 3, it comes 15,000 shillings, 1,500. And then you are required to pay a penalty of 50% of that, which is 750 shillings. Then you are required to pay 1 year's 6,000 shillings. And then you have to wait 13 days or even longer in order to access the cover. The person will be dead by now. Can I please tell the ministry, the NHIF, that is not universal health care. It means we have gone worse than the original NHIF. Before, what happened is that somebody was checked into hospital. If they had defaulted, then we ran around as their relatives. They would be treated. Then we'd run around and go and pay for every month. If you are defaulted for 2 years, we pay for the 2 years. And then the person is able to access, because NHIF is for people who can not afford. There are people who cannot afford 500 shillings in this country, Mr. President. It is, you cannot, I don't know which world these people live in. When someone is sick, where do they get 10,000 shillings? If they couldn't even get themselves into hospital. So we have gone, this is not universal health care, we have reversed. So let us start talking about the big three. There is no longer big four, because universal health care has died. And we have buried it.
Because
it is extremely unfair, and it is the worst thing that this government has done. I am ashamed to be in Jubilee. Because if we cannot get health care, then we don't need roads. We don't need the SGR.
You know what they normally say, and we've used this particular phrase most of the time here on Live, that panya, yuauma huku, anavuvia huku. Anauma anavuvia. So it seems also this is what is happening with the UHC as well. Right?
Before I say that.
No, they are just biting. They are not even poisoning. It is just forget it. This is killing universal health care. In fact, the NHIF as it was before, before universal health care, was fine. Let's leave it like that then. Because whatever gains we had got, we have gone back. To tell me that I have to have had the cover before I was pregnant, how will I know I'm going to get pregnant this week or next week?
You're supposed to plan.
That's what you're asking.
What have the 9 months to plan once you become pregnant. But it doesn't mean. So this is not universal health care. Let us forget it. In fact, NHIF have failed completely. Whoever wrote those regulations does not live in Kenya and lives in their own world. And they must be the rich people who are able to afford to go overseas.
Okongo Mogeni.
I think these are good. I think 2020, people are going to make so many confessions. You know, I was in Kisii the other day, and the DP was telling the people of Gusii that, our Jubilee government, we are going to launch universal health care. NHIF will now be accessible to the poor. And you can hear that one of the highest ranking members of Jubilee is actually embarrassed and ashamed.
But that was before these regulations came.
I'm just quoting you.
That was before. Correct the context.
Gladys, just
let but we can't allow him to mislead. Those statements were before these new regulations came into place.
Okay, thank you.
Now go ahead.
All right.
I mean, so, I'm wondering, when somebody says Jubilee has been there for 10 years and you want to give us another 10 years, 20, and you can't even manage health care. And you're, number 2 in command. You're a deputy president of this country. And your party is coming out in desperation, telling Kenyans that we are totally unable to manage UHC. What else can you do to the people of Kenya? Number 2, Debarl, we have the majority party in parliament, which is Jubilee. And fortunately, my good friend, Sholei, is the chair of the Committee on Delegated Legislation. I don't understand how these regulations can pass and become law before they receive the input of Parliament.
Okay, can I correct it because he's misleading?
No, it's very...
No, but let me explain. Let me explain to him the process. No, he's confusing Kenyans about the process.
Let him finish, let me continue. Yeah, let him finish.
Debarl, Article 1 of our Constitution is very clear that the sovereign power rests with the people of Kenya. And that power can be exercised either by the people directly or through their democratically elected representatives. We go to chapter 2, the national values. Public participation is one of the key value that has been picked out. So I really want to tell the leadership in NHIF that you don't just wake up one day and release regulations to the people of Kenya before you allow for input from the people who are going to be affected. In fact, in this case, adversely affected by these regulations. Somebody may want to say that these are circulars, but you can't just send out circulars which have occupied the realm of a law and say that these are just a circular, internal circular. I think what we need to do, to be fair to Kenyans, I don't want to join the desperation of people in Jubilee, is that we need to summon the leadership of NHIF and demand that they withdraw this circular.
Yes.
We engage in public participation and remind them that NHIF is there to serve the poor of the poorest in this country. And some of us who are politicians, Debarl, day in, day out, we move in to raise money and give people to pay the back fees of NHIF so that they can receive treatment and in some cases get discharged from hospitals. So I think this is not the time to throw our hands up and say we want to quit Jubilee. Let us provide leadership. Let us provide leadership.
Thank you.
And request that NHIF relooks at these regulations.
All right, briefly, 1 minute, then we go to Haman. 1
Yes.
minute, a rejoinder from you. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to explain to Senator Omogeni that the process is as follows. What happens is a regulatory making body, in this case NHIF, publishes the regulations or publishes the circular, which is called a statutory instrument under the Statutory Instruments Act. Within 8 days of so publishing, the law says they must transmit it to the relevant committee in Parliament through the clerk of the National Assembly. What now happens is once it reaches the clerk, it is then marked to my committee. Immediately, my committee, which does not have a backlog, will listen to the matter. And I know in the discussions with the committee on our WhatsApp group, we have agreed that we will seek the Speaker's permission to have a meeting out during recess, because this is a matter of grave national importance. So it's not that it went out. It becomes, the law says, the moment they publish, they can implement. But once it comes to us, if we nullify the regulations, immediately they revert back to as if that instrument. So, no process has been skipped.
Thank you. 1 minute is over. Let's just hear from Haman Wanyoro. We'll come back to you. Then we introduce
First of all, I don't know whether we are safe. Alice
don't preempt. Don't preempt. Don't preempt. Just go to NHIF, please.
Now, NHIF, I love what is happening. I love it. They say when the gods want to destroy you, our Greeks were telling us they first make you mad. NHIF, I've always maintained, is a fraud on the Kenyan people.
Thank you.
It's an apparatus people use to eat our money. Let me use English, Kenyan English. It's really a big fraud. But more important, the universal health, what do you call it?
Universal
cover.
Health Care, UHC.
All the big four put forward by President Uhuru Kenyatta, each one of them is a joke. This is a big joke. I have said it's a very simple thing. If you wanted Kenyans to benefit from health cover or care, what do? You simply use the facilities that we inherited from our colonial masters. You remember I've said it here before. We got King John's Hospital, Kenyatta National Hospital. We got provincial hospitals, district hospitals, sub-district hospitals, locational health centers, dispensaries, and then Moi came and added a few, much as some people hate him in terms of Nyayo wards and so on and so forth. These are sufficient for us to use, put their medicine, put their equipment, train more nurses, doctors, and other paramedics, pay them well, take care of their welfare, and let Kenyans just get. It will even be cheaper from a cost perspective than this NHIF fraud. But just government use the government hospitals, equip them, and let Kenyans walk in and get treatment. And they come out singing Hosanna. And another 10 years to Jubilee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We want just to introduce Alice Wahome. And I think, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Debarl.
I wanted to come. I don't know if she has a lapel mic. Oh.
Oh, I can.
No, I wanted her to just come. We have a bit
I
of
can
a fist
lift,
fight here. Yeah?
I don't know how your
Let
mics are. You know, they should be more bilateral, yeah? With this New Year.
Okay. I'll come with. I will come with my lapel mark here.
We just continue with the conversation.
Yes.
You know, Debarl, eh?
Let me try and put this lapel mark on you. Yeah, so that I try. Alice, now she's really spoiling for a fight. Yeah, you want to tell us why you're really spoiling for a fight? Let me try and put this lapel mic on you.
But she comes from Jubilee, which has red colors. She should have been in the red corner.
No. Oh, this guy is green.
Oh, you have to contrast. Yeah, correct.
Jubilee and Jubilee is red and yellow.
Yellow. Oh.
Jubilee, but this is
she's the yellow part of it.
No, you can do any color.
You can do any.
You can,
Red
as long as
or-
you play around there. During campaigns, you could wear
Yours
all
was
yellow with
yellow,
a bit
eh?
of red.
Yours was
Sometimes you
no,
can
we are there.
Because yellow was URP. Because yellow was URP and red was.
So I just want to.
So now you're
Combined.
married. There are two of them, eh? Oh, yeah.
You can do it here.
In life as well, this is going on.
Yeah. So we can continue. Let's hear from Haman, especially with because the NHIF is predicated on three things. I'll just call upon my
Yeah,
I
you
have
know,
been
Debarl,
saying, do
Eve
what
to
is
continue.
simple.
Evelyn, just come.
Okay, I agree with what Haman has
Yeah,
said
just
about
continue, sir.
improving the facilities, the
Yes.
physical facilities. But remember, NHIF
Yes.
was about being able to pay for services, including those not available in our hospitals. So when NHIF, the progress that NHIF made recently, I was a big supporter of it. Because you could find that a poor person from Wasingishu
Yes.
could be able to seek medical treatment in India and NHIF would cover up to a certain amount.
500,000. Yeah.
People could go for chemotherapy sessions and NHIF would pay for it. Something that someone who does not have over certain economic status would not be able to afford. So NHIF had made so much progress. And they were trying to make it easier. That's why they made it flexible. Because even NHIF paying for someone to be treated in India was sometimes cheaper than having them treated in a private hospital here in Kenya. So what was happening, NHIF was even saving money through that flexibility. And most private insurance also do that.
These hospitals, people go to...
So now what has
Gladys,
happened is, so universal healthcare would have been a two-pronged approach. One, we improve our facilities, which is happening through devolution. Because I know in Wasingishu we have the Burnt Forest Sub-County Hospital, which has 2 state-of-the-art theaters. And with no other sub-county hospital has those theaters. And I did have the opportunity to bring in 11 doctors from overseas to come and undertake a free medical camp there, and they were very impressed with the facilities. So we realized that with Burnt Forest Sub-County Hospital, we have the facilities already. The next stage is to make sure that we have full-time personnel if the budget can be increased for the county. And then on top of that, we should be able to say, when these people come for that treatment, they should be able to pay, because the hospital also has to be able to run, to maintain the equipment, the ultrasound machines, buy reagents for the laboratory and so on. And they can only do that by making some minimal payment, which NHIF can cover. So this was, NHIF was supposed to improve those two. So yes, Haman, what you have said, let's improve the physical facilities. Secondly, let people be able to have money to pay for the medication. And because even if you go to the Kenyatta National Hospital, you have to make some basic payments. You have to pay for the bed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So Alice, just come. We have a. Did you read today's the headlining story on the front page of the Daily Nation?
I've not
Because
read.
it says gloves off as Uhuru and Ruto rifts widen, and you have gloves on today.
Mine are on.
Why this? And you say this is the T-shirt is Uhuru Ruto Tosha. Uhuru Tosha.
Yeah. And of course, these are not our colors. These are not our colors. And
Why are you coming with gloves today?
You know, I'm coming with gloves today because somebody from your media house, I don't know, or whoever else who publishes with you or draws with you, Mr. J. Nyaga designed for me a New Year's
Which
outfit.
page is that, by the way?
This is January
on
the
5th
5th.
of January.
January the 5th.
Oh, good. So you're
Okay.
dressing
So,
like
so
that.
I decided, I love the design.
Look at this. Oh,
That's
okay.
J. Nyaga who designed this outfit for me this New Year. I don't know what went in his mind, but I
But
think
you decided to run with it.
obviously he wanted us to have gloves on to, you know, to deal with the hard New Year.
But look at this. Okay.
The only thing I've changed there is the color of the gloves.
For a reason.
No, but this let me see. And here it's written Uhuru.
Yeah, there are two things.
Uhuru Toka.
Yeah, there are two things. The gloves are blue. I couldn't find the red ones, but I thought also this one is matching with the skirt because even the skirt is really not Jubilee colors. Jubilee colors is mainly red and yellow. And then, of course, he has written Uhuru
Toka.
Tosha, and then he has
He's cancelled the
S and H and put K to say Uhuru Toka. Obviously, saying maybe that's what I'm saying.
What is it?
And I'm saying Uhuru Toka. Because we have a government for the next 3 years. And I have never said Uhuru Toka. But I have said there are things that Jubilee as a government, led by Uhuru Kenyatta, should actually deal with. And some of those things that you are now discussing here, they are very serious issues. You know, so we need to box the brains of the board of NHIF, because, you know, you don't understand. I mean, they need to tell us what was going on in their mind for them to bring regulations that have such deep impact when we are saying, including the governor of central bank, that the economy is declining, that we will have to deal with very hard times this particular time. And health is a security issue.
Health is a security.
It's a security issue.
Course, yeah.
Because a country that cannot take care of its health, you know, then starts weakening. The people of this country can hardly afford even the 500 shillings. You know, even the governors are trying to pay for a few, but how many people can you pay for? Health should be catered for by both the national government and the county government.
Supported.
I think it should be catered for. If you want to support it, then you must spur the economy to the level that people can be. Actually, people are dying.
Right.
People are dying.
So all
there are very serious discussions that we have gone on here regarding the regulations. In the committee led by the chair, Gladys Shore is our chair, and seriously, she has to ensure that Parliament calls us, allows us to have a meeting and discuss this before the recess. We can't wait to go to February. Go to February, and we cannot preempt the debate, the discussion, and decision by the committee. But I think we'll have to listen. We'll have to listen to what Kenyans are saying. The public, what is the public saying right now? Can they afford or can they not afford?
But of course,
is it a good scheme or is it not a good scheme?
It meets the purpose of the principles of good UHC, you know, predicated on affordability, accessibility, and quality as well.
It's in the bill. I'm looking for it in the constitution.
Yes. Just this thing of NHIF, I think let's not a bit about the bush. NHIF is a very good thing. There are a number of Kenyans who have benefited from NHIF. I think what we need to do is to caution the leadership in NHIF not to take this thing away from the poor Kenyans that it's meant to benefit. And I think that's what we ought to do as leaders. I mean, I know we may be here and say Jubilee is not achieving UHC and all this, but I think for me, what will influence my decision is to ensure that NHIF remains beneficial to the people of Kenya, and that we guard against any attempt by the NHIF leadership to make it inaccessible to the poor.
Let me read for you Article 43 of the Constitution, yeah?
Yes.
It says every person has the right, A, to the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to healthcare services, including reproductive healthcare. So when we talk about Big Four, this Article 43A is actually universal healthcare. When we talk about B, Article 43B, to accessible and adequate housing and reasonable standards of sanitation. That was the Big Four agenda on affordable housing. When we go to C, every person has a right to be free from hunger and to have adequate food and acceptable quality. That was the issue of food security in the Big Four, right? So when you think about it, the Big Four was anchored in the Constitution. But now, because of the BBI and the handshake, they have lost track of what they were supposed to be implementing. I'm a very big supporter of the Big Four because I know it is something that we wanted in our Constitution. And when Alice spoke, when they thought that she was criticizing, and she was doing her job as a MP, as an oversighting the executive. She was telling the executive, the BBI has consumed you so much that you have forgotten the Big Four, which is in Article 43. And then people started thinking that she's attacking the president. She was just speaking to the Constitution. Or am I being a lawyer too much?
I can see it.
Right.
I'm sure you want me.
Yeah, I still want you to. I want to use you as a prop for the entire show.
Okay, no problem. You know, Debarl, I don't know what the designer or the publisher of that was thinking about, I guess it's the things I had said on 2nd of January.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
Now you're putting on gloves. Don't you think also, yes, you've been a bit bare-knuckled going on for the president as it is right now, straight on telling him that, of course, he is actually also a threat to democracy in this country. Yeah, you are daring the president.
You know, I don't understand Kenyans. On one level, they are saying members of parliament are not working, and they are not doing their work, and we are not oversighting.
Yes.
You see, we are not supposed to be in bed with the executive, even though we are legislators that have been elected within the Jubilee. We are, of course, supposed to support, analytically, we are supposed to support the government that we have put in place. But supporting is through legislative proposals and, and government policies that make sense and impact positively to the people of this country. So when you then raise an issue, and I'm glad because it has started a very serious debate regarding constitutionalism in this country. Is there any constitutional moment?
Yes.
So that we can now start talking about BBI, referendum, and all those other issues. But in that particular statement, I had other issues that I had actually pulled out within my statement. But the only issue that caught the media attention was the fact that I really addressed myself to the president and said, Mr. President, we really, you owe the country preservation of the space, democratic space, that Kenyans have fought for and worked so hard for so many years to even have a new constitution, having the things that we are talking about here. But then also the freedoms that, wide Bill of Rights, very progressive.
We shall discuss that.
Yeah, so we will go into
in
that.
light of what is
so
happening
I don't know,
the
the bare
weekend
knuckle
as well.
that we are talking about, I have no intention of confronting the president in terms of, it's really not, it's speaking my mind.
Yeah.
I'm raising serious issues that can only be addressed with support and the goodwill of the president.
Good.
Right, thank you.
You saw what happened to us over
just
before the weekend.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
So these are the issues. And I have other issues that we could discuss, but I want us to remain within the debate.
But let me see how tactical you are.
I haven't even practiced.
You've
because
not practiced?
I've never fought in my life. So I would have to now maybe join the...
Don't punch me. I can see maybe. I can see what.
You
can
have
throw my
to,
punch there.
You're supposed to protect the...
But this is all about the strategy for 2022.
Yeah,
So you look at the chink in the armor where you can hit actually, yeah?
So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ali.
So, but I have no bad intention, Debarl, but we shouldn't be intimidated to speak the truth, and we should actually be allowed to express ourselves. And Okongo Mugeni is here. He's kind of pushing everything to Jubilee. It is our duty as Kenyans. A legislator must play their part.
And the opposition,
has a big part.
We will come to that.
Therefore,
this is where we want to actually go to
those people who have been attacking me,
yes.
I want to tell them that they should go deep into the statements that I made and analyze whether there is some truth in it and whether I'm making sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. All right, we want to take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we shall continue with more on the BBI, and you can see, of course, they say the gloves are off, but on Alice, they're still on. We want to see what is really happening. Thank you, comrades there. I should be looking at that. So you're looking at my kisogo kidogo, right? So we want to take a short break. When we circle back, we continue with more. And of course, also you can chime in on our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is our profile name on Facebook. And 20686, our SMS. Apostle, don't go away.
APU offers international students opportunities to study at an affordable cost. APU is recognized for its commitment in offering top-notch digital technology courses. For free application services, contact our local representative or visit their offices in Nairobi and Mombasa.
To date, Barclays has funded about 573 students. We don't have enough resources to fund everybody. So by virtue of Barclays taking over, then it actually allowed us to be able to take, other new students on board.
I had scored a B+, called to Kenyatta University, but no fees. The Higher Education Loans Board connected me to the Barclays Scholarship, and it has really been of importance because since then it has enabled me to pay my fee and accommodation, and I'm really grateful for that.
Scholarships have been running for the last 2 years. In those 2 years, we've invested approximately 150 million Kenya shillings and have touched the lives of cumulatively about 1,000 students. We believe in a shared growth philosophy, which is as we do well, so does the society and the communities that we operate in.
Look at this. And this. So this? Why is this so? The culture of good driving and road safety starts with attending the right driving school and receiving the right driving instructions. Now you know. AA Kenya.
Register today for your driving classes. Dial *650#.
For 100 years now, AA has walked with you throughout the journey. Automobile Association of Kenya. You never drive alone.
Showtime. In this virtual underground, fighters are captured, tortured, and forced to fight for their lives.
It is now time for the fanatics to vote.
Now,
somebody help me! Let me out!
Their newest warrior.
What do we know about him?
He's a fireman from Denver.
Family?
Wife.
Will be their biggest challenge.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm not gonna fight!
How is he still standing? And we are out in 3, 2, 1.
Nimeona ile treni ya kwenda mbinguni, bila shaka huyu atakuwa kondakta.
Amen. Buskut na keki ya hii majani ni hot cake. Tena napendwa tu na wasungu na watu wa matajiri peke yake.
Do you mind teaching me how to propel this two-wheeled automobile?
I'm a soldier in the army. I'm a soldier in the army.
Anti-bus. With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more.
Lipa na M-Pesa.
Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the draw. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
Seven o'clock on the nose, and you're watching This Is a Point here on AM Live. We continue with the conversation at pace. Now, Deputy President William Ruto says the BBI campaigns across the country are pointless as they are only aimed at popularizing ODM leader Raila Odinga ahead of 2022. Ruto has also slammed Interior CS Fred Matiang'i and his PS Karanja Kibiso, saying their antics will only serve to bolster his 2022 presidential bid. Let's take a listen.
Mambo ya BBI kama sasa imefika eti ni njama ya kuunda mambo ya siasa ya 2022 ya ODM, sisi tumetosheka naye. It is as simple as that. When the handshake and BBI were initiated, it was about uniting the country. But what we have seen is that it has dismembered the opposition and destroyed NASA. It is threatening to stall government programs because of the confusion it has brought. And it is heading, a lot of effort is being made to divide Jubilee using this BBI and handshake. Hawa watu walituzungusha siku ile wakatupeleka mpaka Hague, lakini hawakuweza kusimamisha mapenzi ya Mungu. So watahangaika hapa katikati na maneno mingi na kisirani mingi na sijui nini na fujo na nini, lakini haya ni mambo madogo.
Before we go to Kakamega kukutana na the bigger BBI team, national team, as a region we are going to reduce your views into a document that will be worked on by experts homegrown from Western Kenya.
Mambo yote ambayo imetusumbua miaka mingi iko katika hiyo BBI.
And as the leader speaker and some consult on the way forward for the Building Bridges initiative, those from the coast are also building consensus on how they will collectively push for their interest. And top on their minds is if the all-inclusive government at the top, and we will of course will include someone from the region. Let's take a listen on that as well.
Shaambia wenzangu katika BBI, kama mpwani hayuko juu ya meza, we have a problem. So wapange wakipangua, wajua lazima mpaka sisi pia tufanye nini? Tuhesabiwe, sivyo? Kwa sababu hata sisi we believe itafika wakati ambaye mmoja wetu ataweza kuwa kiongozi wa nchi.
Tuna imani ya kuwa tutakuwa na prime minister wawili, ambapo na imani mmoja wako atakuwa ni gavana wetu kutoka Coast.
Tusipotezeane muda kila wakati na vitu ambavyo havitomfaidi mwananchi, lakini ni maslahi ya watu binafsi. Mtashangaa tukisema hivyo, lakini ni maslahi ya watu binafsi.
Hatukosi kuwaruzana, hatukosi kukosana, lakini tuwe wepesi wa kusameheana, kubebana.
Lakini swala ya mashamba hatujaona hapo, na sisi watu wa Kwale tunataka mambo ya mashamba iratibiwe vizuri.
Wakati tunazungumzia sheria ama katiba kuigeuza, lazima sisi tuwe tayari kugeuka pia. Tusipofanya hivyo, chambilecho cha Waswahili kwamba msitu mpya lakini nyani ni yule yule.
And you need to grab today's Daily Nation. It's all about the BBI and how also that particular wage is, dividing them. Gloves off as Uhuru and Ruto rift widens. DP dismisses BBI forums, you've heard it, which are dear to his boss as a waste of public funds. He also warns officials who defy court orders that they will carry their own cross in future. This story is on page 5 of the Daily Nation today. And at stake, resign now, MPs tell DP. Jubilee MPs in the Kieleweke camp, which is allied to the president, have dared DP Ruto to resign instead of undermining the president from within. It is hypocritical for the deputy president to be contradicting his boss in public. This is insubordination, and he should resign. Nominated MP Minor Commander said yesterday in Murang'a County. You can follow the rest of the story here on page 5 of the Daily Nation today. And also we have a bite here. This is Deputy President William Ruto saying, quote unquote, what are all these campaigns for? He's asking a probing question there. Who do they want to persuade? Is it a way of misusing government resources? And I want to show you also what we have on the front page of the Standard as well. It's now Ruto versus Kenyatta and Raila. 2022, the gloves are off. The deputy president tears into handshake and BBI for the first time, dismissing the pact between the president and ODM leader as Raila's special vehicle to State House. You have the story on page 6 of the Standard today. What we witnessed at the weekend in Kisii was not a campaign, Deputy President says, for BBI, but a revival of ODM's 2022 presidential strategy. The handshake and BBI debate has brought confusion in the Jubilee government and killed the opposition. That is also what the Standard today has covered. I want to show you the Star this morning. is asking a probing question, which is this: is Uhuru-Ruto marriage over? Is Uhuru-Ruto marriage over? A probing question there, and this also will focus on what the BBI is doing currently. Is it bringing them together? Is it, of course, a tool of unity or a driving wedge as well? DP says BBI a monster that has ruined Jubilee plans. And I want to show you also what the People Daily is saying this morning as well, the big BBI fallout. So was this meant to really bring them together or also to scatter them as well as it is? And looking at the headlines, maybe I'll leave it for you to decipher as well. But let's just throw it to a panelist this morning, Okongo Mogening, looking at this, the Star. And I think you had picked up on this as well. You said also that you've noticed also discernible changes. The DP is also sporting a goatee, which Gladys was keenly looking for. She couldn't see. She's been with the deputy president also.
Just yesterday.
Just yesterday in Wasangishu. Let's hear from you, Okongo Mogening.
No, I mean, there's no doubt, Debarl, that this marriage is irretrievably broken. I think what we are waiting is maybe the terms of the divorce. There is no doubt that one of the spouses in this marriage
is abusive.
Is unfaithful. And I think it's only the two partners who can tell us who is the unfaithful spouse. But certainly, I will be shocked if this marriage is able to be sustained to the end of 2020. If you look at the statements, you know, they are loaded statements. I'm trying to look at The Nation. If you look at The Nation at page 5, the DP, we all know that BBI is the brainchild of the president and the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And this is what the DP is calling an act of political conmanship. You know, those are very, very strong words. And then it's saying, look at the second paragraph there. The DP dismissed the BBI as an act of political conmanship.
Okay.
I mean, when you start addressing a president and you are his deputy as a person who is engaging in political conmanship, that is loaded. You don't need to get any other signs beyond that just to be convinced that that marriage is broken. And you can see the desperation. If you move down, he's saying people are disregarding court orders. How can that be coming from a person who is occupying the position of a deputy president? I think what that should tell you, Debarl, is that there is a serious division within government. The president and the DP are not speaking from the same page. But I think if I was to quote the Bible, the DP is suffering from some disease. I think fear of anything that is not within his comfort zone. He looks at BBI as something that is going to take away his 2022 presidential bid. If he can, you know, anything that comes in a manner suggesting that somebody may challenge his bid for 2022, that's why you are seeing kisses on focus. Why? Because the DP is having this perception that Matiang'i is being prepared as the likely candidate for 2022. I think what I would like to advise the DP, he should not display a lot of signs of suffering from xenophobia. You know, he's fearing anything that is pointing towards 2022. If he's a Christian, Isaiah 43:1, I think, says, don't fear if I've called you by name. I mean, if he knows that 2022, God will guide him to victory, why should he have all these fears? Let him relax, join Kenyans. I think the mood in the country is that we need to support this BBI.
Okay.
And finally, you know what, Debarl?
Thank you. But I need to ask you before you even go on then.
Yes.
Then how do you explain all this, you know, happenings around the deputy president, especially when it comes to, you know, official functions, like what we had on the front page of the Daily Nation, of the Southern Nation yesterday, him locked out of official residence, and we've seen this really happening. The Jubilee leader has maintained he's still the principal assistant to the president. Deputy president had moved into the house that was repaired, I should say, using taxpayers' cash when orders to remove his personal effects were issued. Plus the political isolation of a DP. And this is well known also within the DP's office that a lot of his function has actually been taken by to speak,
Super Minister.
Yes, Super Minister, C.S. Matiang'i as it is. And he's left really twiddling thumbs in his office as it is currently.
You know, Debarl,
so
if you look at the people who are surrounding the DP. They are suffering from some fear which I can't explain. You can imagine somebody called Mahangi is driving to Kisii and he sees a double cabin pickup with a GK registration numbers. Then he starts to say that, you know, I'm being trailed, there's a GK vehicle following me, and then you want to tell the Kenyans that I dodged the vehicle. You know, if government is following you, you cannot dodge it by changing a route. I think Mahangi.
I've really asked you a very pointed
That's
question.
sorry.
When all this really happening, could we hear from Haman, then we come to yes, please, Haman.
I think my view has always been that in the interest of this country, it would have been much better if Raila and Uhuru had brought in Ruto as early as it would have been convenient. I ran a YouTube channel and I've had a number of videos, and I've said that, look here, if they put the case clearly to William Samoei Ruto,
yes,
the two of them, and then here is Uhuru telling Ruto, look here, because of this and this, we have to change our trajectory in the interest of this country, for the future of this country and our children. Please join us as we achieve what we intend to achieve through the handshake. I think it would have been better. It is still not too late. But if you look at what has been happening in the past few months, specifically early this year, we are getting into dangerous territory. There will be casualties. There will be casualties because I know this country well. But I've also mentioned this thing could get to a point where Uhuru and Raila may even have no control over it. And there could also be reactions from people like Uhuru Kenyatta. And in the process, some people could get injured. Not because they would kill them or anything, but people could get injured even politically. So I'm saying it is best that this thing is sorted out. I've even advised the deputy president. I've told him, if you see it is getting ugly, just get out. You won't be the first deputy president to get out. There have been many deputy presidents or deputy vice presidents. The most recent was Malawi, where the vice president was openly out of government, but continued earning a salary of a vice president. Then he went to an election and lost. If you stick in there with all these things going on, you will not achieve what you want. So either you sit down with Raila and Uhuru and create some terms under which you join them, okay? Or just get out. Because it's going to get so ugly, in the process many people are going to get injured. And look here, when you read a headline like that, Ruto locked out official, first of all I thought it was Karen. I said, God, what is this? When I read the story, you people in the media, you know how to sell papers. Then I saw it was Mombasa. And you know, in Mombasa, maybe the house was not complete. Maybe they are being mindful of the DP's health with the paint, raw paint, maybe stuff like that. So it was nothing, but I'm saying it's getting ugly, and it's not in the interest of any of these players, not in the interest of Uhuru, Raila, or Ruto, and certainly not in the interest of this country that we get to be this ugly in public space and coming from our leaders. It has to end somewhere. Either Ruto leaves government, or he sits down with these guys, or something like that. But this is not tenable. It's going to be very ugly. I'm telling you, it's going to be very ugly, and there are going to be casualties. Yes.
Thank you. Gladys.
Okay, good. I just want to make, I have to first read one statement so that you're clear. Page 7, paragraph 1, page 7, paragraph 1 of the BBI report. Yes. Not my report, the BBI report. It says, the Building Bridges to Unity Advisory Presidential Task Force has submitted this report, very bad English in any case, submitted this report, which reflects some of the most extensive public consultations ever undertaken by a similar body in the history of Kenya. So it was very consultative. Why are we spending 10 billion shillings to go back to the public? To ask about what? First, I'd like to ask this. I'm actually applying for a job from the president to allow me to prepare an implementation matrix out of this report. Yes. In that implementation matrix, I will indicate which commission and which ministry and which state department is supposed to do what in order to implement the report. Very simple. And I can give one example because I can't say all of it. On the issue of inclusivity, We have the National Gender and Equality Commission. People who drive Prados earn huge salaries and are independent. They should be implementing Chapter 4 so that inclusivity is resolved. We have the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. We have the National Commission and Integration, Cohesion and Integration Commission, that one. That again should do its job. If it is about land issues, which I've had Governor Joho's people mention and Governor Muvuria, that there is the issues of land. The issues of land, the reason why we have the National Land Commission, an independent commission anchored in the Constitution, is supposed to do exactly that. And I know they've resolved some of the land issues going forward. So first of all, I stick to my issue, is I do not know why we are going back to the people. Furthermore, there is no objection about the BBI. I know people like me were initially opposed to BBI. And my opposition was from the fact that it was not anchored in law. It's neither the parliamentary process nor the popular initiative.
So you still hold that line?
So, yes, except that I'm asking, can you make me a member of the implementation committee? Because I'll prepare the implementation matrix, which then will channel it to become either a popular initiative or a parliamentary initiative. I can make this legal for them if they want, at no cost, pro bono. So that is said about BBI. Number 2.
Alongside others.
Thank you. Now, again, you have mentioned that the deputy president has made certain remarks that seem to be at a difference with the head of state. But let me ask you something. One thing people must realize, our loyalty is not just to the head of state. Our loyalty is to the people of Kenya. Our loyalty is to the upholding the Constitution. The Constitution says that every person has an obligation to protect and defend the Constitution. On top of that, as a member of parliament and as head of state and as deputy head of state, they took the oath and swore to uphold, defend, and protect the Constitution. So what the deputy president was saying is in line with his oath of office. Because even if I see that the president or the deputy president is not upholding the Constitution, I have an obligation as an elected member of Uasin Gishu County and who took the oath of office in parliament to call them out for doing it wrong. So that it is not illegal, it is not disrespect. It is doing what the people of Kenya hired me to say. But and let me take you back. Debarl, let me finish because I want to make sure that we clarify this issue once and for all so that people are not accused of disrespect when they are doing their job.
But let me just intervene a bit because now if we come to the public domain and actually you seem to be going against the grain. The president, he's actually holding up, with the BBI and supporting the BBI, and you're coming actually to castigate it. Why can't you just have a consultative meeting between you and the president and don't bring all this in the public? Because that will be the perception we have.
Debarl, if you remember, there was a meeting of 97 members of parliament from the Rift Valley region, from all the way from Turkana down to Laikipia and so on, and Narok and other places, the whole of Rift Valley. We met in Naivasha, 97 of us. We issued a press statement, and we said that we are committed to support the implementation of the BBI process. We made a resolution. We even said, whichever way the head of state says that the implementation must follow, we shall agree to it. But when we see that we are wasting taxpayers' money to do something that is uncontested and that we are saying let's move directly to implementation, we no longer need to go around the country for views. Let's just get down to it and implement it. And that is the position that we are saying. And let me finalize by saying, and you must remember that we are obligated as leaders. And maybe I can quote I think the former Prime Minister of the UK. What he said is that all power is in trust. And we are the exercise of the power, of that power, we are accountable for it as leaders. Because it springs from the people and it must be for the people. Yeah, in fact, in Latin they say, vox populi, vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. And our constitution echoes that statement in its preamble, where it says all sovereign power belongs to the people of the Republic of Kenya. So when we speak, and we are speaking to what people are saying, we have not gone wrong. And let me tell you, yesterday I was in Uasin Gishu County. If you spoke to start saying we are supporting BBI process or that BBI is so important, oh, the farmers were going to kill you because they are suffering. They've got maize that they cannot sell. Come out to Singishu County and you see the maize all over the place.
Let's leave it at that.
They have problems with their milk that they are selling. So you come and tell them that we want to ask you about other views. They just want you to fix the economy, period.
So Alice,
I think we need to balance the time, eh? Yeah, we are going.
Yeah, let's continue.
You haven't asked the question?
No,
I think my contribution to this, because the larger questions, the larger questions that you have asked is that, is there a split, or is there a looming split? Are hands off, gloves off the hands? And the reference is being made to the statements made by the Deputy President over the weekend in Kisii. I think Debarl, let me make use three examples. Yes. Because the people who have responded to what the Deputy President said is, one of those people is Commander in Murang'a somewhere, accompanied by my former Member of Parliament, Joshua Toro. I can tell you that one instance is when we went for the burial of Gachagwa's mother. Somebody called Kaninike, a Member of Parliament for Kieni, came with a contribution. And in the most uncouth manner, presented a contribution purportedly from the head of state for supporting the family and give it in public. You know, in our culture, we don't do those things, especially on the burial day, because it's not a harabe day. It's a very solemn day when you are going to bury your mother. And he announced and said he has been sent by the head of state. Then sometimes a month ago or 2 months ago in Maragua, the member of parliament, the county member of parliament for Murang'a, Sabina Chege, brought a donation of 500,000, just like the one Kanin Kega had brought. That was a harambe that was there, and said it's a contribution from the head of state in the presence of the president, or the deputy president. During Rubia's burial, myself, I had been given, condolences to deliver to the family, which I delivered the day before, because, at the family home, because I knew the head of state is going to be part of the function. And I cannot stand there and start giving condolence in front of the president of his deputy, because in terms of protocol, you are breaching all protocols. Look at that issue. If this actually happened, and I seem to have made some inquiries because it's a headline, and I'm told it actually happened, that the staff of the state, of the government employees, have put clothes together from the home of the deputy president, unaware, and he actually went to that home and found that his things have been, what kind of madness is this? So, when then the deputy president is responding to this particular matter, he's saying there appears to be some conmanship. And he said the initial plan by the president was that him and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga want to bring the country together through the BBI. The big, deeper question is, have we started to bring the country together with all these alternative or divergent views? Does it sound like the country is coming together or dividing ourselves further through the BBI? Is there an inception problem or conception problem? And then how can we deal with it? If you asked me, and I have said it on this platform, that I think the beginning of the BBI, the thought may have been good, but the execution has become completely disastrous, because there are people saying they don't feel included. One of the 9 points is inclusivity. How far can you go telling Kenyans that you are including people, and when then you start, and then when you look at it from even the bombers, look at how the management of even that platform, the launching of the report to the Kenyans, where is the document? How was it managed? Was there an open, purposeful objective to embarrass the deputy president? You see, it was a state function one way or the other, because the head of state, like in Bomas then, was obviously the main guest. How did it happen that the deputy president is actually the one speaking after the prime minister, the former prime minister? You know, that still is a breach of protocol. So those people who are saying that the deputy president is disrespecting the president because of speaking his mind have forgotten Debarl. And this is the point, that the deputy president is not an appointee of the president.
He's elected.
He's an elected deputy president under our constitution. His removal cannot be by witch hunting, by publicly embarrassing him, because then you weaken the presidency. He is serving in the presidency.
Thank you.
So for me, I think, and when you look at all these things, the president obviously, the head of state, must be aware of all these things surrounding the BBI. The launch of the campaign, the second, you know, is it BBI, is it being called what? BBI 2, season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2, yes. By a cabinet minister who is illegally presiding over a committee of other ministers, because ministers are constitutional officers. And they are not supposed to report to anybody else, to a minister of the, I mean, there is no chief minister. There is no chief minister. You may have your own opinion. This is my opinion. And this is the point. The constitution creates the offices of cabinet secretaries. And the cabinet is chaired by the head of state. So when you create this other office with the intention of again undermining your deputy, I think we should be able to speak and say you are undermining the constitution that we are supposed to be defending.
If we want to take this country forward, we need to be very honest with ourselves and portray good faith and good intentions for this country. You know, BBI has had issues from some political class right from the beginning. I was in this show sometimes with Gladys Sholé, and you remember she said this process of BBI is illegal and that she was going to move to court to challenge this process. So what you are seeing here is just a continuation of people.
And Gladys, you promised you shall go to court, isn't it?
Yeah, she did. Who are opposed to BBI. Okay. So this country can't move forward when you have a deputy president who during the day he says, I'm for BBI. But at night, he's scheming to scuttle the BBI. I think if we want to portray to this country that we can be leaders of integrity, let us come to a table and say, if you are opposed to BBI, just come out and exercise your democratic right and say, I don't agree with this document, I'm on this other side. Instead of being somebody who is having a double speak. You know, Debarl, inclusivity is not that simple, the way my good friend Gladys Sholé is putting it. It's not about going to these commissions and say, now assist Kenyans to be inclusive. We are looking at inclusivity at the top government level. Look at some regions where over 4 cabinet secretaries.
Want to create positions?
No. We want to share positions across the country. When you are talking about cabinet positions, we want inclusivity so that you don't talk about 2 ethnic groups coming together and you form government. We want a government that brings on board all Kenyans. That's what inclusivity is all about. It's not cheapening it and saying that we have commissions, Kenya Human Rights Commissions, you can go there and give your views.
All right.
You know, let's not cheapen
questions around also.
And then, before, you know, if I can give you the global perspective, you know, people think that amending the constitution is not an illegality. The Americans passed their constitution in 1787. In 1791, 5 years down the line, they did 11 amendments to the constitution, including the celebrated Bill of Rights. It was done after 5 years. So let's not portray to Kenyans that when you want to relook at the constitution, you are engaging in an illegality. It's not an illegality. It's a document that was prepared by the people of Kenya.
But it's not a document of one person or some people.
Yeah. Yes. Can I have, and then finally, Debarl, let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. The BBI is a process that will be determined eventually by the people of Kenya. Public participation is something that is anchored in our constitution. When you go to the people seeking their views, you cannot say that the task force already went around and sought their views. Whichever way Debarl get it from me here today, there is no way you will change an article of any article in our current constitution without public participation. There are so many cases from our courts that say any process that does not give a chance to Kenyans to air their views will be declared a nullity.
Right.
So let's separate.
Don't you think when we first of all we need to ask ourselves what is the rhyme and reason again of extending the task force
season 2?
Yeah, Tam, the season 2 that you're talking about.
I just wanted to make a
comment.
Just
Gladys just quoted from actually, no, just a moment.
Okay.
She quoted from the document itself that this particular exercise that we went through was very consultative, right? In the history of his country. So why again have a season 2 with extension of a term? Is there any reason?
You know, term consultative is relative.
What do you mean it's relative?
Yeah, I mean, the BBI season 1 may have had consultative meetings
just allow me to make an intervention.
Debarl, let me tell you, if you can't protect me from these honorable members, then I don't need to be in this forum. When they speak, I don't speak. Can we have order?
Thank you. Alice, we'll give you a time to rejoin.
Yes. It's just I rejoined.
When you go to the people, if you follow the proceedings in Kisii, people were given an opportunity to air their views. And there is one MP from Kuria called Kiatama. He made a very strong submission that the Koreans are making a request that in season 2, and that's a very close ally of the DP, and he's my good friend. He said that in this second, consultative forums, he wants the views of the Koreans. And he came with a team of 2 buses from Korea. And he said, I want season 2 to consider including a recommendation that Korea should have a county.
So
that's what we are
consulted before.
I think that's what he's saying.
So
what we are saying is, Debarl, so what is illegal?
So if you are giving,
Debarl, let me make a rejoinder.
What I want my colleagues to tell me, what is illegal if you go to the people and you give them an opportunity to comment on the contents of BBI? What is illegal? What is political about it?
Let me just answer him very quickly on that particular. You see, Okongo Omugeni is a lawyer. And he understands that even as we are talking now, we have no legal framework to guide these consultations that he's talking about. To guide this, is it public awareness? Is it a campaign for season 2 BBI or what? If then we found that there was need to go back to the people, then we should have come to Parliament, prepare a legal framework to be able to, because now you cannot say that you are allowing Matiang'i or Okongo or Alice Wahome to be the one who will go to campaign for the BBI. To that extent, the whole thing is a sham. We must come back to the drawing board that he's talking about so that we tell Kenya, season 2 has these gaps. And because this BBI report did not even tell us that there are gaps. We were supposed to be reading this document. So, and the head of state has not even extended the period. He's still yet to gazette. So instead of even gazetting, with all these uncertainties of and how people will handle season 2, I think we should put this thing before Parliament. Then the government then, if it is the owner, because it obviously the president has a stake in this thing on behalf of maybe Kenyans, but then let's have these thoughts in a bill, a proposal, so that then people, even Kenyans, can contribute and say, this is how we want to guide this process from now onward. And unless we do that, so that you are actually conducting this thing, because you must divorce it from politics. If you remember the other process, constitution-making process, it was not being guided by politicians. We were just campaigning for it, but there was a committee, there was a legal framework that did all the awareness, prepared all the materials.
We'll come to you, Gladys.
This is really conmanship.
So that I finish this point once and for all. Thank you, Herman. Okay, I think when we talk about what Senator Omugeni is saying is that public participation is paramount and is a requirement of the law. I agree with you on that respect. But we must desist from saying portions of statements and not completing it and misleading Kenyans. It would be responsible for us at this table to use this show to mislead Kenyans. First of all, let me read for you Article 3 of our Constitution. It says, every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution. 2, any attempt to establish a government otherwise than in compliance with this constitution is unlawful. Okay? So if this BBI process, as he says, is going to take us to a referendum, then it can only take us to a referendum in accordance to Chapter 16 of our Constitution that deals with the amendment of the Constitution. We have Article 255 that lists the aspects of the Constitution that require a referendum. So we cannot be having discussions and saying, so the BBI process is a jua cali process. It is not anchored in law.
That's what I told you.
And the question we are asking ourselves is, if we are going to reach a point in this country where we can decide to start any process in the total disregard of the Constitution, then we are going to become a banana republic. The next time, Debarl, I will say I will chop off your head because I don't like you. Because I've refused to follow the Constitution. Right. We must stick. Debarl, I'm just finishing. Debarl, I'm just completing. Yes, Herman is going to come in. Mogeni has had his chance. So you must remember, then when you look at it, when you find someone like Matiang'i just decides as a cabinet secretary that he's going to be part of some illegal process outside his duties as set out in the Constitution and as set out in the National Government and Coordination Act, then he's also committing an illegality. The reason why, and when you talk about, let me complete.
I need to ask you, then where does the executive order really come in?
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, if we have an executive order, will that
I'm not talking about the executive order. I'm talking about his participation in the BBI process. And let me finish this, Debarl, because you're making...
Yes.
No, Debarl, if I don't make my point, then nobody will understand what I'm saying. So allow me to be able to complete this.
Then you should be
the reason is, yes, I'm winding it down.
I think
the reason being is that when we talk about inclusivity as set out in our Constitution, Chapter 4, we are not talking about giving positions of Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister to people. We are talking is inclusivity holistically in government. So that, for example, if the Deputy President comes from a certain community and the President comes from another community, then we have to make sure the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces is from a different one. And that the head of police is different from a different one. That the head of the Navy is a different one. That the head in the Treasury is from another different community. So inclusivity, we have so many positions in government that can ensure that we have inclusivity in our government. And finally, as I make a comment, I know that someone from some quarters yesterday said that there is so much noise being made about BBI that the president is not able to focus on running the state. But think about it. Let's just take the example of America. There is so much chaos happening, but the state is running. The reason why the state is running is the government bureaucracy and statecraft continues despite political. And that is why we separate the public service from the politicians. And that is why you'll never see a Secretary of State of the U.S. government going to campaign rallies.
Thank you.
It is completely unacceptable, and that is why we are losing focus on what is important to the people. So if we are to use the BBI process and anchor it in one of the two processes established under our Constitution, we will still go to public participation through that process.
Thank you, Gladys. Let's hear from Herman. Please, Herman.
Debarl, I'm seated with lawyers, and with their permission, they will allow me to cite Article 132 of the Constitution. Those things one of them is, I don't know, C, whatever that C is, okay. And it says the President shall, by a decision published in the Gazette, assign responsibility for the implementation and administration of any act of Parliament to a Cabinet Secretary, to the extent not inconsistent with any act of Parliament. There is an act about coordination of government. So appointing Matiang'i Alice is quite within the law.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about his participation in BBI.
No, she said that is illegal.
Okay, let's talk about BBI.
The appointment of
BBI
fine. This was a by the way. This was a by the way. This was a by the way.
I will get there.
I will get there. So I was just correcting because people are listening to us. Viewers are there. Appointment of Matiang'i is quite within the law.
But his participation in BBI is not anchored in that Article 133.
He's gravitating to us, Gladys, just a moment.
We will come there. Now again, Debarl, you ask Alice a very simple question, whether there is a divorce is taking place or has taken place, whether the marriage is over or is not. And she has answered you very clearly. She's an A student. That's why she did law, that the marriage is over. She has listed a litany of things that have happened to the Deputy President. culminating in that Ruto locked out of official residence and things that happen in funerals and so. So those things are bad. But even worse is the fact that the deputy president comes out to talk about these same bad things happening, including calling BBI conmanship. Nothing. You wouldn't need any other evidence that the marriage is over more than that, because if the marriage was still intact, then in your bedroom you whisper to your spouse because you are still sharing the same bedroom, the same bed. Tell like in mzee wewe, ama mama wewe. So because you have to go outside and talk to neighbors and in church and in public, it means the marriage is irretrievably over, as Morgan says. Finally, on BBI. BBI is an attempt by Uhuru and Raila to re-engineer our politics, to correct the wrongs that were brought about by their parents, as they told us. If they came up with the BBI report, and I've said this before, Gladys Boschole, I like your name so much. If they had come up with the outcome of the BBI, like in this report, and said this becomes law of Kenya, that would be unconstitutional. But you and I and any other Kenyan, any other groups of persons, and Raila and Uhuru are persons in this country, can come up with an initiative to change the constitution. Until that is done, you cannot say what they are, you cannot term what they are doing as unconstitutional. But finally, on BBI, anybody trying to wonder why we have season 2 and perhaps season 3, or not knowing that while you think season 2 is going to take 6 months, you'll be ambushed immediately before you can close your eyes. There is a bill being taken for a referendum. Why that would happen is simple, Alice. Don't look for order where none was intended.
Good one.
You get the point? BBI is an infrastructure, a political infrastructure to do certain things. And being a political infrastructure, it will go in the way that the owners want it to go. So that finally, because I'm over.
So
I'm just finishing. So that finally,
he's addressing
finally you'll be naive. So finally you'll be naive to expect it to be taken to parliament, for example. This is, and I want to help people like Alice understand. The president, I listened to Uhuru and Raila on the steps of Harambee House, and I read the 9-point thing. I read that thing they came up with, and I followed it cleanly. And I'm sure there's something they want to do for this country. They feel so strongly about that. So the question to my friends, especially in Tangatanga, would be this: would you trust another person with the presidency to do those things after 2022? They are now laying the groundwork,
very good,
building the infrastructure. They will need power. They need political power to implement what they are talking about. This country needs to be changed. We need to re-engineer the politics of this country. We need to do certain things because they are saying we have tried, everything has failed, including the constitution and all other things. So there's that big thing they want to do. They cannot entrust the responsibility to somebody else. They need political power. Gladys Boschole and Alice. Uhuru and Raila require and need political power in 2022 and thereafter to implement this big thing they want to do to change this country, and we may support them to the extent if need be.
You know, thank you very much, because he is saying, just enjoy that, because he's saying, I'm not, unless we are naive to think that there was intended to be order. You see, we are talking about a constitutional order. We are trying to bring constitutional amendment. So if constitutional order was not meant to be, then my statement that this is a special purpose vehicle for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, for Uhuru Kenyatta, and the object is the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, then I'm correct. Because beyond 2022. And it is seen beyond, not beyond 2022, first 2022. And of course, right now, what they are trying to do is to turn it into a political movement. You know, before, it was a political strategy. Now, they are implementing the strategy. From there, the referendum will be like now to complete the purpose or the objective. And Kenyans then need to understand that. How do you then tell us you are changing the constitution for Kenyans, for us, and that you have something, that they must be having something? Should we not start to understand what is that something? This country is not for Uhuru, it's not for Alice, it's not for Raila Odinga. We need to understand where they are going so that we can then agree, some of us to join them, others to even disagree with them, and maybe chart their own destiny.
So as it is right now, you're really groping in the dark, you don't know where they're going?
Well, personally, I know they are headed to a point where they want to bring a bill, which in fact he's saying it will not even, we don't know within what period. Exactly my point. The constitutional making process is supposed to have timelines so that Kenyans know how to engage, at what point to engage. Alice. So they are headed to a bill, and then all this is to create momentum so that they can be able to pass this document into a referendum. I tell you what, this thing will find itself in court and they will be embarrassed. I believe the judiciary would not also want Kenyans to be, because eventually from the political arena, we have the judiciary which is supposed to be independent. I mean, things must be clear to every Kenyan.
But unless you have violated the
Constitution,
how will the courts come in?
They have violated.
How will they violate?
Just a moment, let's hear from Okongo, then we should
it's a major violation.
Thoughts, please.
God of Abraham, I hope God will help this country. You know, this is what I was saying, that without people practicing politics of honesty, this country will never change. You know, in a political rally, you stand up and say, we have no problem with BBI. When you come to NTV morning, you are saying, BBI is Juakali. Alice Wame is saying, we are going to court to declare this a nullity. How do you expect somebody in class 1?
But you know, Debarl, that will not cite me because we had said
I don't know how you want us to run this program.
Hold on.
I'm just responding to what she has said.
You'll get it.
Please, can I finish?
Address yourself to season 2.
So, Debarl, you know, this country will progress. This country will make a lot of progress if we practice honesty. You know, I said at the beginning of this program that let the DP come out and say, I'm opposed to BBI, so that we know we have two sides. We have the president with the Honorable Raila Odinga and other Kenyans who think time is ripe for us to look at the Kenyan Constitution 2010. Let the DP be on the other side and say, I totally disagree with the BBI and I'm going to oppose this process. That way, we can say that in this country we practice politics of honesty. But if you go to political rallies and you say, we have no problem with BBI, you come here, we say we are going to court, we'll nullify. This is Juakali. We can never make progress, Debarl. And then some article has been read. You know, this constitution, the first statement in this Article 1:1 says that all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. And if you go to chapter 16, you cannot amend that article unless you go through a referendum. And they say the people in Article 1:2, the people may exercise their sovereign power directly. When you go to a rally in Kisii, you carry booklets of BBI, and the DP told us, take these things to the people, let them read. We go with these booklets, we call people, they come, we give them the booklets and summarize. Where is, please, where is the politics? We are not saying we want to convert BBI into a political party. Nobody has said so. I mean, and then finally, on the issue of ministers, I want to emphasize about honesty. Yesterday's meeting, I saw the minister was accompanied by the Minister for Lands. What's her name? Farida. Karone. She was in that meeting where issues were being discussed about BBI. What is wrong when Matiang'i is in Kisii talking about him being a messenger who has been sent by the president to tell the people of Kenya that they should read the BBI reports, and then when the decision comes, the decision day comes, they can make an informed decision. Let us not play politics of dishonesty in terms of wanting to become presidents of this country. That is, somebody is suffering from something I may call egomania. You think that everything that you believe in is the only one that should carry the day. That's not right. Let us have a politics of inclusivity.
All right.
Disagree to agree.
Before you come to Gladys, and also you should be preparing your headline thoughts. We have Sir Jim Kich Langat saying politicians have hijacked the BBI process.
Correct.
How can they organize consultative forums before Kenyans get the BBI documents to read and comprehend? What do they expect from Kenyans who haven't read it? This is pure politics. Wacheni kutudanganya. This is what he thinks. We have also Jerry here, Wamwaya saying, please tell Alice that Okongo and his team won't bring the debate in Parliament because they know majority of Parliament is allied to DP, not Uhuru. That's why Matiang'i and ODM are pretending BBI is coalition, but is the new ODM campaign. We have also Kenya saying, Alice Ahome wearing the T-shirt, it means she's on top gear campaigning. They are the people putting politics in a top-notch gear, hence purporting to be working. This is what Kenya is saying here. We have also Kowa Frederick saying the Kenyan government is a tick on a cow living in the highlands. If I come from a family of 7 with 3 only able to pay for the NHIF, this is the debate we had earlier, and I live in a town, of the so-called Mamamboga, and those from the countryside. The NHIF is a killer scheme. This is what Kowa Frederick is, and the rest of I shall read the tail end of the program as well. But let's just respond to some of his tweets as well. I think it's in line with what we're discussing, even as we're preparing your headline thoughts, Gladys.
Yes.
Briefly,
okay. Yes. I want this to be made very clearly because I think Senator is misleading Kenyans. We have said that when we met as Rift Valley MPs, 97 of us, we were not. After we read the BBI report, we said we are not opposed to the content. So we said go implement it, and we'll support the implementation. What we oppose is the repeat public consultation. We are taking back Kenyans again and wasting resources instead of moving to implementation stage. So our position is let's just implement. And if we just want to implement it, can we convert it to become a legitimate process? Which is either convert it to become a popular initiative or a parliamentary initiative. And when we talk about amendment of the Constitution and upholding Constitution, in terms of going to a referendum, it is only 6 articles that require a referendum process. The rest can be done through Parliament or through other policies. Unless you're touching the supremacy of the Constitution, unless you're touching the territory of Kenya, unless you're touching the sovereignty of the people, unless you're touching national values, the Bill of Rights, the term of the President, the independence of the judiciary, the functions of Parliament, and the Chapter 15 constitutions, you do not require to go to a referendum. And so, I will not forget what Herman has said. Herman has said, in order to implement the BBI process, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and His Excellency President Kenyatta must be in office post-2022. Basically, what he's saying is that we want to extend the term of the president, and we want to change the functions of Parliament. If that is the case, then we need to go to a referendum.
Right, thank you.
And if that is the position, I am asking that they write a referendum question, then let's go to a referendum.
Harman, also your headline thoughts, please.
You see, I've corrected my friend Gladys here before. It's not true that the only time you can go for a referendum is when you are touching on those articles. So, I'm saying, yes.
Just read Article 255.
I'm saying I know.
Where else does it say you cannot?
The Constitution also says that if you have something you want to turn into law, as a person, you can bring a bill to take it to Parliament.
Exactly.
Or if you fear Parliament may not embrace that law, you can go to the people directly. This Constitution.
No, then why don't they prepare? That's what I've said. Yes. Can they use the BBI report recommendations? No, the PBI recommendations can be converted into a popular initiative.
Which they will get there. They will choose the route. Right. They could take it through Parliament or through the popular initiative. They will choose the best route.
That's what I'm asking. We're saying the same thing. I want them to use the normal process, which is the 2 processes.
Just give him time to wind up.
That's what I'm asking.
Let him have his head and wind up.
The will. But you see,
I've agreed. I want the 2
I've also been trying to make our friends here see what is happening. You see, if you want to do something, you choose the best strategy. You understand the country.
Not outside the Constitution.
Not outside. You understand the country, and you know, if I came with this BBI in this manner, I may not achieve what I wanted. So I will approach it through this manner.
Season 2.
Season 2, Season 3, or half of Season
Thank you.
2.
You've been the most honest
So
person.
now,
I understand this
now
process.
because BBI have said it's a political process. Politics is played in, you see, this is not a church affair. This is politics. You have to play BBI politics,
But
knowing
this is
there will
Kenya
be
that has a
resistance.
constitution.
You know there is a resistance. You know it is your intention to derail certain aspirations, to put an end to certain ambitions,
Thank you.
to tell certain people to put them in check. And if you want to do that, then you must do what politicians do. So me, I think Raila and Uhuru are just being good politicians. The other side must also equally be good politicians. But crying and complaining and, you know, that will not help them.
Thank you.
They have to know they are facing politicians. None is as astute as Raila when it comes to politics.
Right, thank you, thank you. Let's hear from
So
the
William Ruto must be able to match that politics. That is my advice to them.
So from your assessment, he's not really matching the politics?
He's not, so far he's not.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear from...
He should try and match it.
Okay.
Yeah,
He
find
should up his ante.
in conclusion, and this is my sovereign promise to the people of Kenya. And I want to urge my colleagues, let's look at this BBI issue very, very objectively. And I saw Moses Kuria the other day crying about there being injustice. And somebody was reminding him that you did a tweet saying you wanted the government to be given more tear gas. You know, what we are doing is not going to benefit an individual. It's not about Raila, it's not about William not being president in 2022. We want to undertake a process that makes this country better than we found it as leaders. And when we frame these questions, you will be asked, do you want a governor to have a deputy who is of the opposite gender? Do you want the person who garners the second highest votes to be leader of opposition in parliament? Do you want cabinet secretaries to come from elected members? And that will come. Somebody there is saying that members of parliament will oppose. They have their constitutional right. Let's prepare the bill. It goes to parliament.
Thank you.
If it is defeated, so be it. If it passes, that becomes part of our
So let's
law.
prepare the bill instead of going to BBI.
Listening to my colleagues in
Alice.
terms of summary, I think then let us be honest to Kenyans. Because we are talking about, some people think that we are dishonest. Let us be honest to Kenyans. Let us tell Kenyans that this new season 2 now, because, you know, most of us had said, look, the BBI doesn't look bad. After all, it's, you know, there is nowhere that, in fact, if you look at it, then it means you could implement maybe 90% of it through parliament, through the executive, some things that would mean sense and make sense to Kenyans. Then we leave those referendum questions of offices, of inclusivity at the top level to the Kenyans again at the referendum. But the way we are going now, we are talking about Kenyans inclusivity, but that is not from Manyoras, although that's not necessarily what I believe in. But I am saying, why don't you then come openly, be fair to Kenyans, let Kenyans engage with the document, then at the end of it all, take advantage if you have to, but don't make it 1-2 people process, then go around Kenyans, return them to season 2 without understanding, without a legal framework, drawing public resources, without any framework upon which we shall hold these people accountable. This is Kenyans' money. This is Kenyans' money. Season 2 is an irregularity. Season 2 is an irregularity, and I think somebody eventually is taking Kenyans for granted.
Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much. It's 8 on the nose, and of course, we're really stuck for time. I really want to thank you so very much for very engaging, animated discussion here. And maybe also, as we're winding up briefly, we saw this very probing question also on yesterday's Taifa. Mfalme mpya wa Kisii, right? That is what Okongo Omogeni will be telling us maybe next week. Right. Thank you very much for your valued company. I really appreciate you've been watching. This is The Point.